servant.
Magsiupo po tayo na. Thank you very much, Dr. Sherry. Magandang maga ho sa inyo lahat na imbag nagsapa kadatayo amin na po. Maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. Maayong aga sa inyong tanan. Let me be very informal with my greeting, considering the fact that all our special guests were actually formally introduced. Dr. Juvie, Villaflor, Dr. Larsasa, Dr. Caloy, Dr. Roel, the distinguished members of the Board of Regents, our surgeons and their special guests. Thank you very much to the Philippine College of Surgeons for choosing the city of Baguio as their venue for this special event. Una, nagpapasalamat po ako sa inyo lahat dahil you brought in around 1,200 surgeons. And I heard that this is you have broken the previous records. And it's good for the city of Baguio, considering the fact that I know that surgeons are good spenders. So please feel free to go around and spend your money. And when you leave the city of Baguio, probably 2 days from now or 3 days from now, you leave your money behind. Let me also greet our good governor of Benguet, Governor Melchor Diglas. Ulitin ko yung sinabi ni Dr. Caloy. I'd like to apologize to each and every one of you. I know everyone is very, very comfortable with the 42 degrees centigrade. We try to do it. We try to increase our thermostat. Pero hanggang 28, in fact, the 28 is something very abnormal in the city of Baguio. Ang average range lang po namin is 14 to 26. So once again, I would like to apologize to each and every one of you. By the way, last weekend, the optometrists, about 500 optometrists were here, and I was thanking them for bringing the weather. Dahil nung dumating ho sila, umulan po. Nung dumating ho kayo, huminto na ho yung ulan. So, apat na araw na po kayo walang ulan. So let me go to my message today. And I was asked not only to provide you or deliver a welcome message, but also to deliver a special speech on leadership and governance. And I feel proud for the simple reason that I know that character and competence should start with a very strong foundation. And I hope that after listening to me, you will be able to know where I am coming from. I also learned that competency and character were not built when you occupy a certain position. As I've said, it's built on a strong foundation. It starts especially during your developmental stage. First of all, I would like to express that it's a great honor and privilege to join you today on your 50th mid-year convention with the theme Golden Milestone of Philippine Surgery and Lessons of the Future, which is very much appropriate with my speech today. And we are reminded of the immense importance of your profession in lifting individuals and communities towards a brighter future. I was tasked to talk more about leadership in relation to your theme, and governance as well. My career in the public service has been marked by controversies. Probably I'm one of the most controversial officers in the Philippine National Police. Even until now, that I am a chief local executive. I constantly found myself in tight and difficult situations because I was courageous enough to simply do what is right for the city and for this country. During the 1986 People Power Revolution, I was then a lieutenant in command at the tri-boundary of Mountain Province, Ifugao and Benguet. Our unit was the first to defect to the group of then President Fidel Ramos, even when things were still uncertain in Metro Manila. In 2003, I was accused of being involved in the attempted assassination of a president, which is totally baseless. Despite this, I continued to serve the Philippine National Police with distinction, always striving to do what is right. In 2005, I led the Bicutan siege when inmates in the Camp Bagong Dima, particularly the Abu Sayyaf, were able to seize weapons and kill the guards. 23 Abu Sayyaf were killed. 3 of my men were wounded. 1 was also killed. My helmet was hit by a bullet. I led the assault because one general mentioned that the operation would fail, and so I volunteered to lead the assault. In 2006, I was sent to jail for rebellion. However, rather than being deterred, my time in prison only strengthened me and only strengthened my resolve to fight for what is right, to fight for truth, and to serve my country. After my jail term, I became a better person, better leader, a better husband, better father. I became the primary witness in the case against the former chief of the Philippine National Police, where I testified and exposed his involvement in the illegal drug operation in 2014, wherein more than 200 kilograms of shabu went missing. 200 kilograms. When given out, fast break, sold in fast break, this amounts to about 600 million pesos. The normal cost of per kilogram of drug is 6,000 pesos. And I learned that it was his directive when he was still a colonel in Pampanga. He was the provincial commander then. He ordered all the confiscated methamphetamine or hydrochloride amounting to about 250 kilos, only 37 were declared. The rest were sold to the market. It was his order. He ordered also that the person who was arrested should be released in the amount of 50 million pesos. Kumuha na lang ng ibang Chinese at yun na lang pinalabas nilang yun ang nahuli. That caused his relief in the Philippine National Police, although pinalabas na lang na nag-resign siya. When I was the head of CIDG, I led the investigation of the loss of 1,004 missing AK-47 rifles. Unfortunately, this ended up in the hands of the new People's Army in a silver platter. License. 5 colonels and 3 generals were dismissed. Sadly, some of them are actually graduates of the Philippine Military Academy. I've been vocal in my opposition to the drug trade in the Philippines. In 2015, as head of the Criminal Investigation Detection Group, despite being incarcerated, I testified that the Chinese who were behind bars in the Bilibid prison continued to manage the drug trade in the Philippines. Daman ko, hihiram lang ng cellphone. Dati-rati, pag umilam ng cellphone, yung mga Chinese drug lord, magbibigay lang ng 300 pesos, 500 pesos. Nung tumagal, yung 30 minutes, paggamit sa cellphone, umaabot na ng 50,000 pesos hanggang umabot na ng 300,000 pesos. But can you just imagine the transactions that will be made in just a matter of 30 minutes? Abot na ho yan ng millions and millions of pesos. Now, as mayor of the city of Baguio, I've been criticized about my fight against corruption, to the point that even my wife and children and grandchildren are being subjected to character demolition and assassination. In fact, cases were also filed against me to discredit my integrity. I was portrayed as a gambling lord, as a drug lord, as a very corrupt mayor. Hindi pa sila nagsawa. They portrayed my 2 daughters as prostitutes. Even my grandkids were portrayed as drug addicts. Pinalabas din nila na pag-aari ko yung isa sa pinaka-profitable na restaurant dito, yung Good Taste. Sabi ko sa kanila, pag napatunayan nyo na ako may-ari niyan, libre na kayo, pati yung mga kamag-anak nyo, lifetime. Pag-aari ko rin daw yung tinatayong Parkway Hospital. Marami sa inyo naka-invest no. Alam nyo na wala hindi po ako kasali doon. Pag-aari ko rin daw yung maraming taxi dito. Again, these are all lies. And despite the challenges and controversies, I remain steadfast in my commitment to serve the people, fight for justice, accountability, transparency, and uphold the law. Perhaps the most daunting task, and may also be one of the most challenging assignments that I ever had, was my role in the investigation of the Mama Sapano incident, wherein 44 SAF commandos were killed in just a one-day operation. I led the Board of Inquiry. I faced considerable pressure to whitewash the investigation. In fact, I was even offered the position of Chief PNP. Sabi nila sa akin, Benji, you're very potential. Pwede ka mag-Chief PNP. I-whitewash mo lang the investigation. I was asked to save the President and other high-ranking officials. I recognized that my role could jeopardize my career. But when I took over as head of the Board of Inquiry, I already gave up my ambition and my career. Despite the assurances of rewards for compliance, my team and I, including my men in CIDG, resisted external pressures and steadfastly pursued the truth. We remain resolute in our commitment to justice for the fallen SAF 44 and their families, rejecting the temptation to whitewash the investigation. I remember that day, after finishing and completing the report, and we were about to sign the report, may tawag sa akin, Benji, do not sign the report. I-present mo muna, ayusin natin sa kanyang pirmahan na report. Sabi ko kay General Spina, was then the officer in charge, Sir, kung gagawin po natin yan, sasakit po yung ulo ninyo. Bakit naman? Hindi na po namin pipirmahan yan at magre-resign na po kami sa serbisyo. So they allowed us to sign the report. Pero mayroon na namang kulatilya. Mag-report kayo mamaya, Benji, 4 o'clock. When I reported to his office, the entire board of generals were there, senior officers, more senior than me. And for 2 hours, we argued on the findings. There were 22 findings. The first 3 findings were about the president. They want me to take out all the 3 findings involving the president. And for 2 hours, the argument went in circles. Wala nang pinupuntan until I was really fed up. And I said to General Spina, Sir, pwede bang magsalita lang ako na 1 minuto, walang magsasalita sa inyo? 1 minuto lang. This is what I said. 22, sir, na findings yan. Sino po ba mag-explain yan? Hindi naman po kayo. Kami naman. Ilalabas po namin yung involvement ng ating presidente. Kanino po ba siya magagalit? Hindi naman po sa inyo, kundi sa amin. Nawalan na nga kami ng career. Nawalan na nga kami ng ambisyon. Pati ba naman integridad at credibility ay kukunin nyo pa? And that practically stopped the argument. We owed it to the public, and we owed it to the SAF 44 and their families, who wanted justice to be served. We stepped forward where others would just have declined to tread, because we wanted to regain the trust and confidence of the public towards the Philippine National Police. Only when I entered the local government that I saw the true impact of corruption. I saw the numerous substandard projects put up and the plight of the poor people. Unfortunately, people do not truly see the real impact of corruption in their lives because they are simply being blindsided with theatrics and false promises by politicians and political leaders. Let me share with you my first encounter with corruption in local government. Hindi pa ako nagte-take over as mayor. In 2019, dumating na kaagad a group of contractors escorted by several politicians. Bahala na kami, Mayor. Kami nang bahala dyan. By the way, meron kang 5% or 7%, 10%, 15%. Depende sa presyo ng project, cost ng project. Pero pag nakakuha ka ng pondo sa taas, entitled ka sa 30%. Pero maganda na yung 20%, mabait ka na nun. True na. Ang dali lang pala makagawa ng pera. At 400 million a year for local development fund at an average of 10%. That's 40 million pesos. Times 3, that's 120 million in 3 years. Iba pa yung supplies. For the city of Baguio, we have about 300 million for supplies alone. Sabi na lang natin, medicine niya, umaabot pa nga ng 22%, 27%. Pero dahil mabait ako, Mayor, 20%. So 320%, 20% na lang kukunin mo. That's 60. Ganun ho kadali ang pera sa Baguio. For nakakuha ko ng pera sa taas, I'm entitled 30%. How much money were I able to produce? Getting money from the office of the president, from the senators, from the secretary, of 900 million pesos. Dahil mabait ako na mayor, 20%, that's 180 million in 3 years. Added up to 110, another 90 million, 400 million in 3 years. Iba pa yung hihingihan ko pa yung mga investors. Goodwill money. The question is it the right thing to do? Tama ko ba yan? As the local chief executive, I have made a stand that there will be no room for corruption in the city of Baguio. The city has already lost millions and millions of pesos over the years because of the backward way of thinking of our political leaders. What's in it for me? Rarely do they ask, ano ba ang maganda susunod ng Baguio o para sa Baguio or for the people of Baguio? Let it be known that I vow never to get even a 1 square inch of public land in the city of Baguio. Kaya kung ano po yung nadatnan ko as mayor, ano po yung pag-aari ko before the mayor, pag-alis ko po as mayor after my term, yun na rin po ang lupa ko. Not a single inch of public land. We have been fighting against corruption for more than 50 years now. Now, more than ever, it is a clear and present danger. I even consider it as a threat to national security. And I will be explaining this later on. Why is it a threat to national security? It will even impact the way you work, impact the way you do your job. It will impact the future of the medical industry or the medical business or your medical professionals. It will impact the lives of the young people today, children and your children's children. This is why I started a network among local chief executives, and we call it the Mayors for Good Governance. Our battle cry started out as good governance beyond politics. Now, it is good governance, get involved. This movement is dedicated to the Filipino people, especially to the next generation. And it serves as a concrete expression of our love for our country. The faults created now will not be felt by us. It will probably be past our lifetime. But definitely the next generation will feel it. As I've said, our children's children. I admit that I do not think traditional politics will change during my lifetime. There's no short-term solution. There is only a long-term solution. And later on, I'll be explaining that as well. I encourage everyone, the Filipino people, the medical profession, our surgeons to join us in this fight. Participate in promoting good governance. Help us in this fight against corruption. Allow me to share with you the quotes of 3 renowned personalities. Let me start with Albert Einstein when he said, "The world has become a dangerous place, not because of evil people, but because good men do nothing about it. Here comes another, Peter Obi, a Nigerian philanthropist, when he said, when politics is more profitable than industries, when those in government are richer than businessmen, entrepreneurs, and probably doctors, then that country will never progress because it manufactures poverty. And another from Ireland who said, when corruption is being rewarded and honesty is a self-sacrifice, then you know that society is doomed. And look around you. Look around us. What is happening? Vote buying. Politicians spending 600 million, 800 million, 1 billion, 1.2 billion running an election. Paano nila babawiin yan? Spending 12,000 per vote, 18,000 per vote, 25,000 per family. Paano nila babawiin yan? I remember July when I started talking about corruption, delivering that speech in the Philippine National Police, and it became viral. I mentioned there that corruption is becoming pervasive, that is now a norm rather than an exemption. But nobody, especially only a few in national government, wants to hear it, wants to admit it. It was an inconvenient truth. It's happening, but nobody would like to speak about it. Why? It's just like a white elephant in this room, a big white elephant in this room. But nobody would like to speak about it. Why? Probably because of, the acronym MAP. Masarap ang power, masarap ang position, masarap ang pera. I had a chance to talk to several members of Congress, National Congress. Sabi nila sa akin, Mayor Benji, alam mo ba na mga kasamahan namin, maraming may kasamahan, hindi na gumagamit ng cash vote. And that's why really surprised. What's the meaning of cash vote? Kasi hindi na magkasya yung ninanakaw. Ano yung ginagamit? Room vote. Because we're not talking here about millions and hundreds, billions of pesos. It's already billions of pesos ang ninanakaw. Tayo nagbabayad tayong taxes. You are paying your taxes. Many of you are paying about 60,000 pesos per month, 1,000, 100,000 pesos, and probably some of you are even paying 200 or 300,000 pesos a month for your taxes, only to find out 30% of that only goes to the programs and projects of government, while the rest goes to someone else's pocket. And nobody would like to speak up or speak up or speak up. What's going to happen to the next generation if we're going to simply allow this to keep on happening? Look what is happening now. Sabi nila sa atin, ang Vietnam, wala, nasa baba pa natin yan, hindi tayo abutan yan. No, Vietnam overtook us in 2018. The growth, GDP per capita of Vietnam in 2017, lamang pa tayo ng $40. In 2018, I'm sorry, it was $80 in 2017. Lamang pa tayo ng $80 per capita. In 2018, lamang na sila ng $40. 2022, lamang na sila ng $400. And if you look at the latest financial figures, export of the Philippines in 2022 was at $110 billion. Export of Vietnam is at $399 billion. 5.7 trillion pesos is our budget. Magkano dyan ang ibinabayad natin sa interest? Last year, magkano binayad natin sa interest? 583 billion pesos to cover our national debt. This year, 2024, if you look at the automatic appropriation, we paid $670 tumaas na ng 90 billion US dollars. If I just would like to show you, when the administration of President Duterte started in 2016, our national debt was at $5.7 trillion. 5.7 trillion yun. Pesos, rather. In just a matter of 6 years, umakyat na kagad yan ng 11.7 trillion. Dahil sa pandemic, dahil na rin sa corruption. But if you look at the 5.7 trillion pesos na utang natin, national debt, yan na yung budget natin ngayong year na to. And that 5.7 trillion was actually accumulated for almost 40 years. But in just a matter of 6 years, umakyat na kagad na 11.7. In 2022, it was 12.4 trillion. Last year, it was 13.6 or 14.6 rather. This year, the forecast is at 15.8 trillion. I had a chance to talk to former DOF Secretary Jess Stanislao 2 weeks ago. Tanong ko sa kanya, "Sir, are we capable of paying our debt?" Sabi niya sa akin, "Benji, meron naman tayong macroeconomic aggregates. Kaya pa naman. But we need to manage our leakages." What do you mean by leakages, sir, Secretary? These are, kumuha ka ng baso ng tubig, butasan mo, yun ang leakage. Big chunk of that goes to corruption. Are we not going to speak up? Are we not going to speak out? Tatahimik na lang ba tayo? And that's the reason why we're now becoming a model of good governance in this country and leading a group of mayors who believe in good governance. 178 mayors. Napakarami? No, it's not. We're just scratching the surface because the total number of mayors in the entire country, not excluding the governors, 1,600 po yan. Bakit ko konti lang nag-join? Probably because hindi nila alam. Third is they're not prepared. Fourth, probably they don't still understand good governance. And five, they're not willing to give up their special perks and privileges. And probably may ethical dilemma dahil yung kalaban ko mapera. These are the ethical dilemma that we're facing. But sabi nila sa akin, Mayor Benji, ginawa na yan dati. Marami nang gumawa niyan. Hindi rin nanalo. Kawawa ka lang. Kawawa ka lang. And true enough, nararamdaman ko yung pressure. You want me to give up? You want me to abandon the crusade? We're not going to give up. Because if we give up, it is as if by way of default, we have given up on the future of our children. On the future of our children's children. And on the survival of this country. So we will keep the fire burning. Can we do it? We cannot. Can we do it alone? No, we cannot. We need to band together. Get the help of different people from the different sectors. From the medical profession, from the bishops, from the religious sector, from the youth, from the farmers, from the senior citizens. Practically, it should be a whole of society approach. Importante rito, we need to be brave enough to speak up and speak out. We cannot just simply be silent about this. To our doctors, to our surgeons who are here, join us in this fight. Join us in this fight. We have started the spark. Sabi nila, hindi mahirap gawin yan, Benji. I remember the words of Senator Lacson when he said, you know, Benji, don't get frustrated. When you look behind you, nobody's out there fighting with you. And true enough, last year, when I look behind me, nobody's out there fighting with me. But suddenly, after a few weeks, I've been receiving a lot of messages, a lot of calls, telling me to stay on course, not to abandon the crusade. Pagtingin ko sa likod ko, ang dami palang naka-outstretch hand, sumusuporta sa amin. I hope some of those hands belongs to our surgeons who are here today. I hope. Before I end, let me just share these thoughts with you. Good governance is not only about fighting corruption. It's about efficiency, about effectiveness, participative governance, rule of law, protection of human rights, authentic leadership, inclusivity. It's a politics of hope, not a politics of frustration. It's not a politics of hate, but a politics of goodwill and mutual understanding. It's not a politics of criticism, but a politics of encouragement. And most importantly, it's not a politics of lies, but a politics of truth. This is what keeps us going. And the reason for that is because we love our children. We love our children's children. We love our country. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat.